The years, whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same.
45 years of hurt in the Challenge Cup. 40 years of hurt as a team. Hull KR have won the Challenge Cup in 2025.
Through every cheer, it led us to our golden year. We beat the Wire in Wembley rain. Tom Davies try helped ease the pain. We topped the league, we would not fall. The mighty Robins above them all. An Old Trafford clash with Wigan's might. We burned the sky with red that night. 24-6, the game was done. History made the treble won. 40 years of hopes and tears.
Super Bowl performance from Hull in November. They win the treble. They win a grand final. What a season!
Red and white, we do believe a grand final win to complete the three. The greatest year in Rovers history. Celebrate the moment, honor the past. Far off dreams become memories.
Hello and welcome to the first Robin Pod of 2026. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on podcasts, it's a pleasure to have you with us. And joining me for the first podcast of the year, of the season, is Bazza Kingston. Bazza, is it too late to say Happy New Year still?
Nah, mate, never too late. It's always good to catch up with the Rovers faithful, innit, mate? Cracking intro, give me goosebumps yet again. Mate. Just watching that, I love it. Great to be back.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 months since I recorded the last podcast, the last Robin Pod, and of course, a few months since the side completed the treble, and watching that intro, listening to that music again, it does bring it all back, doesn't it? I know we're on the cusp of the new season, and the lads are fully into pre-season, but it won't hurt, will it, just to look back and reflect on what a remarkable campaign it was, because it's like a lot of things with age, isn't it? It gets better and better. Stories, the legend gets bigger and bigger, and there's no doubt these history makers achieve something really special.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I mean, in the off-season, I've watched that Wigan game quite a few times. I've even watched when we beat that lot across the river a few times, just to reminisce of what was an amazing year last year, and looking forward to making some more memories this year, mate.
Yeah, I suppose that is going to be the challenge, and I think Willie Peters has already mentioned it, Bazza, is that, yes, last season was remarkable, staggering, exceptional. 2026 is a new year, a new season, and we can't reflect too much on that, and we can't look back too much because it's about the here and now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what was an eye-opener, I saw a little interview with Matt Shaw and Elliot Minchella a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but to be fair, it got me giddy because by the sounds of things, Elliot's hungry as ever, like as if he'd never won anything. So it just shows the mindset of our captain, what'll be getting put into the boys this year to really, really go for it. So the hunger's still there, and it don't look like they're resting on the laurels, mate. So bring it on, let's go. Yeah,
of course, the boys are out in Tenerife at the moment. They're on a 9-day training camp. It's something that the players have become accustomed to now, and it's almost legendary in terms of the toughness of pre-season, it being one of the hardest pre-season that players go through. Interestingly, a number of other Super League sides have now taken advantage of the facilities out in Tenerife. I think Wakefield have been there, Huddersfield have been there, Wigan are due to go there. So there must be people looking at what the Robins have done and what they've achieved and gone, well, actually, maybe going to Tenerife is something that's going to kickstart that.
Yeah, I reckon so. I think Wigan used to go to Lanzarote, but I think they're doing Tenerife this year. I think it's rated like one of the best in Europe training facilities for all sports to go across there. So I dare say it's not cheap to go across there, but you can reap the rewards if you're willing to put the hard work in and do the graft across there. And I think that just shows the difference. Our boys out in Tenerife and them lot across there are running up an hill in Tunstall, you know what I mean? So gotta get the first dig in of 2026.
Yeah, I mean, pre-season, the especially this camp in Tenerife, it's not just about the physical work. You know, the players do enjoy a bit of downtime as well. And that's where these bonds are made, isn't it? This is where this playing group really comes together. And Mickey McAlorum, Dradwar Hargreaves, yesterday departed. They've left their footprint on this side in terms of what Elliot Minchella have learnt from them, what Mikey Lewis, Jez Litton, the senior leadership group. You know, there was a big reason why them two players came in last season. It wasn't just about what they did on the pitch. It was what they was doing off it, about the standards they set. And I feel, Bazza, it's really set us in good stead for this new campaign, that them players, came in, left the footprint, and now it's up to these players such as Elliot Minchella to really take that forward. And that's why these camps are so important, to be able to put them building blocks in place ready for another assault on the treble.
Yeah, 100%. And just the way JWH and Mickey Mac conducted themselves, like you've just alluded to, away from the field, I think that'll benefit, like you said, a lot of the senior guys. But Sam Luckley, he's another one. I think he's really integral to that leadership group. A very vocal person, you know, leading the group forward. But it's the bonding when they're in Tenerife, getting to know each other and welcoming the new boys and building them connections and them friendships. And I think when you're in each other's pockets for 7, 8, 9 days, away from your families and that, and it's just your boys, I think there's no better way to do it, to get to know each other and get to know like what your mate likes, what he don't like, and just build them connections, them friendships, which again goes out onto the field, and you're working hard together, you're training together, you're in the boxing ring sparring together, and you can't put a price on things like that. And I think that's where the coaching staff really have, over the last few years, got things right at our places, building them connections. It's massive.
Yeah, and what I noticed as well, and I've noticed this over the last couple of years, that the players who have been here for a while now, they look a happy group. They look comfortable in each other's company. They look like they enjoy each other's company. And I think that's been, you know, it's hard to create that sometimes, isn't it? When you've got, the best part of 25, 30 blokes all coming together to try and unite and with the end goal of producing something out on the pitch. It's hard to achieve that. And the backroom staff deserve a huge amount of credit for how they foster them relationships, but also I think the players deserve a huge amount of credit as well for the way that they conduct themselves, the way they behave, and the way that they enjoy it. I mean, there's no doubt that they like a party. You only have to see the celebrations after the Challenge Cup win and of course the grand final win, that these boys know how to party, and there's no doubt that they like to have a good go of each other. But it's when they're on the pitch, the professionalism and the standards that they set each other is really to be admired.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one thing that Willie Peters looks at when he signs a player. Obviously, they've got to have the playing skills and they've got to fit outside. But I think a lot of it as well, when we sign a player, they've got to have the right attitude, the right personality to click with the boys, because it's all right signing the best player in the world, but if they've got a personality of a brick, then you know they're just not going to fit into the playing group. So it's about getting the balance right with the personality off field with the families and things like that. And I think that's where over the years what Willie's done is by signing the right people with the right attitude and the right values. I think that's why it works so well amongst our playing group.
Yeah, that was a problem in the past, wasn't it? That we'd bring players in and we just, you know, for whatever reason, you know, they might be talented on the pitch, but off it what they weren't quite right. And we weren't always necessarily being able to pick from the, you know, the best players out there. Now, you know, we've got an opportunity, haven't we? Because people want to come to the Robins. They've not only because they see the success that we've enjoyed, but also the off-field stuff that, you know, the players look happy, the families look like they're looked after. When they come to Rovers, they know that training's going to be professional. They're going to get the best that the club can afford. So, you know, all these things add up to us being able to get these right players. But of course, you're right as well, Bazza. It's about the personalities and it's about their willingness to learn and want to win. That makes them special. One player who's not part of the group out there is Kalepi Tanganoa. Was you sad, surprised to see him go to Warrington?
I'm not going to say so much surprised. I was gutted because it's been an integral part of what we've done over the last couple of years. We got him from Wakefield, another relegated club at that time, so people was wondering what he'd offer, but he showed us so much. But it takes me back to the days when we released George King, and Ethan Ryan. A lot of the fans was devastated, but I think that's just all about progression. We're Rovers fans. We don't like change, but unfortunately, we have to keep changing to keep moving forward. So if we start resting on our laurels, then the club might end up standing still. I know it was a massive part of what we did, but if you break it down, we got through the end of the season, we got through the semi-final, and we won the grand final without Kalepi. He's a massive bloke, a great bloke, and he was a massive asset to the club. But I think we showed we could get over the line without him. So one man don't make a team, and we can't stand still. We've got the likes of Tom Whitehead coming through. A lot of people are saying high praises for Tom. So, he's only 23, 24. Kalepi is at the 30-year-old mark. So, trading him in for a bit of youth. It's gutting. It's change. We don't like change, but sometimes you've just got to keep moving forward, because if you stand still, then unfortunately the club will stand still. So I'm gutted, but I understand it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it became apparent towards the back end of last season. He was getting utilised less and less, wasn't he? So it was no surprise to me necessarily that he was departing. And what has become evident now is that Willie Peters does like them utility players, them players who can fill in at the back row, loose forward, hooker. We'll come on to Carl Lawton very shortly, but Tanganoa was very much a one type of player, wasn't he? He had that explosive running game. After that, he wasn't able to necessarily fill in other positions, and that explosive power that he did possess became less needed because he was playing a bit more of a control game. And look, he's made a huge impact at the club, and Warrington are getting a very, very good player. And look, if it wasn't a salary cap driven game, he'd probably still be around, wouldn't he? That's the reality. But the salary cap has meant that he's had to depart. And of course, now coming in is Carl Lawton from the NRL, 30 years old. He's made 115 NRL appearances, and he's on a 3-year deal. So he's one that Willie Peters obviously trusts to be in and around the team for a long time. And I'm excited to see how he goes, because he's definitely got pedigree.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carl Lawton can fill in at a number of positions, If we're shy at hooker, he'll do a very, very good job there. But he's also a very good back rower, loose forward, which, again, makes our pack a little bit more mobile, and it saves us burning out the likes of Dean Hadley and Elliot Mincelli. It's someone to spell them. So I think we're looking at the longevity of 2026, where we can move players about and not burning these players out, throughout the season, and try and keep the squad fresh. So I think that one signing where we can fill in virtually 3 positions, I think that's a bit of a masterstroke personally. And don't forget, we've still got Bill Leyland to fill in at hooker as well, to spell Jez. But Jez has proven it can be an 80-minute hooker if need be, and Jez is the one I'm really excited to see in 2026. But Carl Lawton, I think it's a very, very smart signing. Like I say, it can cover a multitude of positions. Is a proven NRL player for the Cowboys, so I'm happy with that, mate. I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you mentioned there about Jez Litton, and of course, we saw him in the Ashes, probably one of the standout performers for England. I'm expecting him now probably to be playing closer to 80 minutes during a game. I think he's at that level now where he is the number one hooker. He's had to fight his way into that place as well, hasn't he? He's had people put in front of him, Matty Parcell, Mickey McAlorum. And do you know what? Great credit to Jez Litton. And I think this is one of the reasons why he's so popular amongst Hull Kingston Rovers supporters is he's always fought back. He's always put himself forward. Even when there's been times where Willie Peters hasn't been happy with him and he's been hooked in a game, he's always responded positively. And now he's earned that starting hooker berth. And also, not only that, his engine has just got better and better, hasn't it? He's able to do them big minutes. So, Yeah, I'm expecting to see Jez Litton do 70, 80 minutes, but there will be times, won't there, where Lawton can fill in for them 20-minute stints, 15-minute stints. And that's the versatility of Lawton as well, because we know that Willie Peters does like to rotate them prop second rows, not necessarily loose forward, but definitely the front and back rows. He likes to have a bit of rotation in there, and Lawton will add to that.
Yeah, it will do. But going back to Jez and what you've just alluded to there, I think it shows the attitude of Jez, and that's what we was discussing earlier about a player's attitude, a person's attitude of buying in, working hard, and having the right personality, because he was playing second fiddle to Matt Parcell quite a lot. And he was quite happy to have that, number 14 shirt and just be a sponge and learn off Matt, and even Mickey Mack coming in, learning off Mickey Mack. But Jez was open to even learning from Bill Ireland, what Bill Ireland has to offer. And I think that's Jez's personality and Jez's attitude, what makes him a great professional. He didn't spit his dummy out, demanding a starting role. He sat back, he learned and listened to the coach, and he's reaping the rewards right now, because, like you just said, he was arguably England's best player in the Ashes. He should have been in contention for Man of Steel in 2025, but he was Old Kingston Rovers' best player in 2025. So it'll be interesting to see how he kicks on, because I personally believe he will kick on in 26. And same with Mikey Lewis. I think the boys aren't stood still. I think they've got more to offer and more to give, and I think we're going to see that over the coming years.
Yeah, and of course, with the World Cup at the end of this season, it promises to be a really exciting time for Jez Litton to see where he is come the end of the season, because I do think he will end up being one of the best hookers in the competition and right up there with some of the best in the world. As a side note, there's one player out in Tenerife right now who some people won't have expected to see. That is Jalen Hodgson, of course, the brother of Bailey Hodgson, who's at Lee, and of course the nephew of the great Josh Hodgson, who famously wore the red and white of Hull Kingston Rovers. He departed that lot last season. He then went to Goole, and then he's been invited by Willie Peters and the club to come and train full-time with the Robins, with a view, so I'm guessing, earning a permanent contract. He plays the hooker role. Like you mentioned already, Baz, Bill Leyland's already in the club, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him next season, because is he ready to be playing? Should he be maybe out on loan somewhere getting game time? Because if Carl Lawton is going to be the backup hooker, obviously that limits his game time, and then if we do sign Hodgson, that adds extra competition. But just a bit of an interesting one, isn't it? And if he goes as well as his Josh Hodgson did, then he's going to be a fantastic signing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's what we need, though. We need a healthy competition for places, keep everybody on the toes. And if it means Bill going back to London for a few months, I don't think it'll do him no harm working under Jason Demetrio, the setup they've got down there in London, it'd only benefit Bill Leyland. But as for Jalen Hodgson, I think it's a no risk from the club. It's not costing them anything. It is basically Hodgson's getting a free training session down in Tenerife to see where he's at and see if the club want to sign him. So it's not costing the club anything except a trip to Tenerife. And if he can cut it, then I dare say we'll get a contract, because we signed that hooker a couple of years ago. I can't remember his name, Reese Butterworth.
Yeah, from Dewsbury.
We was tied to a contract with Reese, unfortunately, and it didn't work out. So at least this way, we're not committed. We've got no contract signed. And if Willie Peters sees a player there, that's worth offering a contract, I'm sure he will. But the Hodgson pedigree it's been pretty all right, because Bailey Hodgson down at Lee is doing a grand old job. So who's to say, his brother Jaden what for us. So let's see how he gets on in training. And if there is a player there, then yeah, get him signed up, absolutely. But I know there'll be a bit of meltdown across Westall if we don't tie him up. But hey, they've missed out on a few little stars in the past, so that'd be their loss and our gain yet again. Yeah,
it won't be the first time, would it? Sticking with Tenerife, I mean, what's interesting is that there's a number of players out there at different stages in terms of their pre-season. Of course, the players who featured for the international sides, like Reece Martin, Tyrone May was a late call-up for Samoa, Mikey Lewis, Jez Litton. they've been afforded a little bit more time off, so they're at different stages. And of course, there's a few players who went under surgery at the end of last season. Joe Whitbread, Sam Luckley, Fishwick, they've had surgery, so they're at different stages of pre-season. Tom Amon, don't forget, he finished pretty much the season with a foot injury. All we're being told is that he's going to be fully fit, ready for the start of the season, which is really exciting. We've got Kershaw, who's still recovering from an ACL injury. So, yeah, this camp is really important, and it'll be interesting to see who faces Wakefield when we take them on a pre-season friendly on the 25th of January, because the season comes thick and fast, doesn't it, after that? So that lineup for that game will be really interesting to see who comes out and who's risked, who doesn't play. But it's great to see that we should be starting the season, touch wood, nothing serious happens. We should be starting the season pretty much at full strength, which is fantastic.
It is, and this is why personally I don't agree with pre-season friendlies. They're not needed. The boys do heavy contact in training. It is great for the fans to get in the stands and see a pre-season game, but it's costly if you lose a key player. That starting 17, there might be 3 or 4 who are going to be starting in the regular season. But if we lose one of them to a serious injury, it can be devastating. So I dare say the game against Wakefield, I can't imagine there'd be any first teamers, not with the roster we've got coming up, York, Brisbane, Vegas. I personally wouldn't have a pre-season friendly. I get why they do it, but I'm just not comfortable with it.
I do think as well, Bazza, that Willie Peters is very smart in how he uses these pre-season friendlies, because we've seen in the past, haven't we, where players have been, for want of a better phrase, put on the naughty step. So they've performed in them games not to a level that Willie Peters is expecting, and then they've had to suffer the consequences of that. And I suppose with pre-season, players can train well, look the part, but it's also then going out onto the pitch and carrying out them intentions, playing the way that William Peters wants them to do. And if he sees any sign of bad attitude, or maybe not players thinking that they're too comfortable, he's ruthless, isn't he? I think it was George King in the past who got dropped, and there's been a few others where he's called them out. I think Elliot Minchella as well. I think he might have been one. Was it? No, it was George King
against Sheffield a couple of years ago, and then last year in Amsterdam it was Kalepi Tanganawa.
That's right, yeah. So I think he uses these games to maybe the squad players, because don't forget, we are carrying a bigger squad than last season, which is going to be vital, because I don't think we would have been able to go with the numbers that we saw play last season again this year. So that bigger squad is going to definitely be a benefit. And like you said, Bazza, I think we're going to probably see more of them fringe players against Wakefield, the likes of your Tom Whiteheads, Junior Sambu,
Jack Charles.
Murphy, Jack Charles. We might start seeing them players playing rather than, like you said, the first team, because we're going to come on to it. We've got the Challenge Cup the week after as well.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to contradict myself here by saying I don't agree with the pre-season friendlies, but I think that pre-season friendly, if it does play the fringe players, I think it'll set them up nicely for the week later in the Challenge Cup. If we do play Loch Lane or Brighouse, because we don't need to put a full side out. We can put our A team out and get over the line. So I dare say it'd be good prep for that Challenge Cup game, like you've just alluded to, Declan Murphy, Jack Charles, Tom Whitehead, players like that. So it'll get some minutes in the legs, get them ready for the week after in the Challenge Cup. But
Before we talk more about the Challenge Cup, Bazza, is there any danger that some of these senior players could go in undercuts if they've not played when they go into that game against York? York are going to be absolutely chomping at the bit, aren't they? And we saw what happened at the end of last year when they released the fixtures, and it came out that Rovers, had asked for a bit more of a gentle introduction to Super League, and then of course drawing York, who were newly promoted. Well, their motivation's through the roof, isn't it? Because their motivation is, hang on, we've been handpicked because they perceive us to be an easier team. So it is going to be a real tough encounter. So is there a danger that if the senior players don't play against Wakefield, or they don't play against Brighouse or Loch Lane, they'll go in undercooked? Or do you not think that's going to be a consideration or a problem?
I wouldn't have said undercooked. It's a tricky one because we played York last year in the Challenge Cup and we got to see the likes of Jared and Mickey Mack for the first time. And they looked pretty sharp. Granted, York, it was a bit of a blowout score, but the scoreline didn't reflect that game because York did give us a game. It was the first game of the year at Castleford where they threw everything at us. And that's where, you could argue that we maybe did look a little bit undercooked. But I think lessons that have been learned from the beginning of last year, and I can't imagine any of the players taking anything for granted in that first game. So you say undercooked. Willie's smart. He'll rotate properly. He might throw a Tom Amon on the bench in a pre-season friendly. I won't risk the likes of Mikey or Jez. He'll rotate it smartly, but it's a tricky one, mate. I tell you what, this is why we're fans, because Willie Peters has got some massive headaches coming up to get the squad balance right with, should we say, without being disrespectful to the opposition, but slightly easier competition as opposed to a Brisbane or a Leeds in Vegas. It's where Willie's got to get the right balance and, have enough senior players in there to guard the young lads round and to get us over the line. Because if we do take opposition lightly, I mean, I'm going back a few years now, but we got knocked out at home to Oldham in the Challenge Cup, and we shouldn't have, and that was taking the opposition for granted. So I don't think Willie Peters will do that, but I think he will find the right balance of experience and youth to get us through these games.
Yeah, and he has mentioned already that he thought the Robins did get off to a bit of a slow start last season, and he doesn't want to make that mistake again. And there's no doubt, of course, if we're looking to build this dynasty that the club keeps talking about in terms of successive trophies and silverware, every competitive game really does count, doesn't it? And you can't take anything for granted. Albeit the Challenge Cup third round draw has certainly, the Robins are set to face either Loch Lane or Brighouse on the weekend of the 6th to the 8th of February. That's, of course, when the Super League clubs now come into that round. All Super League clubs are seeded and all games are played away from home. Loch Lane playing the top division of the amateur game, the newly restructured amateur game, and Brighouse, I think they're in the division below them. They play each other on Saturday as we record this to see who will be the winners. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it? If anyone follows football, of course, they'll have seen what Macclesfield did against Crystal Palace. But rugby league's a different beast, isn't it? And you got full, we're talking about Rovers pre-season potentially being one of the toughest in rugby league, coming up against a side filled with amateurs who will not be training and conditioned to the same level. So that's where the major difference is, isn't it? Just the physicality and fitness of them players. That said, I do think, Bazza, the Challenge Cup is a competition for all. It's not just a competition for Super League teams, and you've got to pay respect to these clubs who enter in the early rounds because it is their competition. So by that, why shouldn't they be playing Rovers? That is the competition. Every side enters it knowing what it'll be, and it's great for them, isn't it? If you're a player for Brighouse or Loch Lane and you're thinking you could be playing, the current Challenge Cup holders, and you're 80 minutes away from beating them, which they are at the start of the game, then it's great for them. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of eyes on that game on Saturday to see who we do draw and where that game then may take place, because Loch Lane is just around the corner from Castleford's ground. Brighouse is sort of in between Bradford and Halifax. Would it be moved to there? If you look at their current ground, it'd be difficult to see the game being played there, Bazza. But, strange things have happened.
Yeah, as there's mixed reviews of whether the lower league sides should be in, and you're right, they do have a right to be in there, but you've got to consider player welfare, safety, because these are the average Joes. Me and you're getting run at by these Super League stars, mate. We're going to get killed, so you've got to think of it that way, and you've got to think of like player welfare for KR, playing on some of these dodgy pitches, but they've earned the right to be there. They're going to be buoyed by it. You know, it's going to be once in a lifetime for a lot of these guys playing up against, you know, some of the stars from OKR. So it'll be a great day for them, whatever the scoreline. It won't be a great look for the game, but you know, it's about these players, whoever Rovers are playing, you know, to get up in the morning with the excitement.
I was going to say, Baz, as well, to be fair, my mind's changed on it a little bit. I was really sceptical of it last season, and then I managed to take in St Helens versus West Hull, which was, of course, played at Craven Park. And do you know what? It was all right. It was competitive. West Hull gave a great account of themselves. They're at a similar level to what Loch Lane are now. I mean, don't get me wrong, St Helens, I thought, were bang average. But that's not about them. It's about what West Hull did and what they brought to the table. So, hey, let's see what happens. There's a number of interesting ties across the whole of the third round. Who Rovers draw? You know, there's no doubt there'll be lots of interest in that game. It'll be the main pick for BBC, no doubt, because they're the current Challenge Cup holders, and everybody wants to knock them off the perch now, don't they? So, yeah, let's see what happens there. Before we go on to anything else, just a huge thank you to Budget Tyres Auotcoentre. They continue their sponsorship of the Robin Pod into 2026. Make sure that you check them out on Leeds Road. Big Rove supporters, always look after you. And it's the only garage that is trusted by the players, club officials and supporters of Hull KR. So make sure you back the companies that back the boys. And of course, back to the Robin Pod. Moving on, we've got Phil Way. So people now driving to Craven Park, Bazza, will no longer be going down Poorhouse Lane. They'll be going down Phil Lowe Way, which is a great honour. That was unveiled, wasn't it, just before Christmas? His family were there, a lot of the ex-players. A great tribute and acknowledgement of someone who gave everything to the red and white of Hull Kingston Rovers. Yeah,
mate, beautiful tribute. And it took longer than it should have, in my opinion, but it's done now. And yeah, as daft as it sounds, Phil Lowe adds a bit of class to the entrance to OKR than Poorhouse Lane. You know, it's classy. It's a classy name. His saying was stitched into our shirts last year. Memories are better than dreams, and I think it's a massive tribute to a great man and a great servant to OKR. You know, Phil Lowe, the entrance to Craven Park, don't get much classier than that, mate. Love it.
No, and it's something that the team, you know, memories are better than dreams. It's something that the team bought into, and I think that was something that they played with, wasn't it? Yeah, fantastic. Sticking at Craven Park, then Soul Group Craven Park. News that the stadium is going to be expanded in terms of capacity. It looks like the South Stand, which was a temporary feature last season, is going to be a permanent fixture for the 2026 season, which means more bums on seats, more revenue into the club, and more people getting to watch Hull Kingston Rovers.
Yeah, it's good news, mate. I'm really happy with it because there's so many people who miss out, and it kind of stops getting that next generations of fans through the doors. You know, when we're trying to grow the game, grow our club, and the next generations of fans can't get through the gates because everything's sold out. So it's just an opportunity for more people to come in. It don't look great on telly having a temporary stand, but again, that's the main thing. It's temporary till something permanent comes up, because I know they're reviewing that, and I think something has to be done sooner rather than later, because I think every game, barring I think it's Toulouse, is sold out at Craven Park this year. Could be wrong on that. Yeah, so it's fantastic. It'll be the best place to be, especially in summer. Fantastic. Yeah. I'm chuffed to bits with it, mate.
Yeah, and there's no doubt whatsoever that this is a great example of how the club take a measured approach to things. They haven't just rushed in and put a South Stand in without being able to justify it. The supporters have backed it when it's been put there, and now the club have realised that actually it's cost effective, it's prudent to do it, and that's what they're doing. And I think that's how the club operates, really shrewd at the moment. They invest where they need to. Of course, they don't have a bottomless pit of money to go invest in everything that they want to do. But these little building bricks, you know, step by step, we're getting the club to where it needs to be to sustain success and to become a sustainable club. So, yeah, exciting times. Sticking at Craven Park again, we saw some changes in the academy. Jason Neverton, he's been his role's been relinquished. He's been replaced by Pete Riding, who used to be head of academy at the Black and Whites. He's come over to the good side, and he's now taken on his role. And we've seen James Webster appointed scholarship head coach. He's going to be responsible for coaching them players and bringing them through, and hopefully making that transition into first team rugby league at Hull KR. Because let's be honest, Bazza, it ain't quite working at the moment, is it? In terms of players coming through that academy system and getting into that first team.
No, it really isn't. And first of all, pay tribute to Jason Neverton, 20 odd years at the club. You know, it was there when we got to Super League and whatnot. It's been a great servant to us, and I just want to thank him for everything he's done. But in terms of our academy, it's kind of stood still, and I think this is where I go back to resting on your laurels. The club needs to move forward, and if that means making a change, and as great servant as Jason has been to our club, if we need to take the academy to the next level, the club needs to move and make a change. So the new appointment, you know, it might take our academy to the next level. There's talk of the sports village being built next to the stadium, so it's just all changes and going to the next level. Because I know Willie Peters references to Leeds and Wigan's academy a lot, and St Helens, and I think that's where Willie Peters and Paul Lakin's vision is, to have an academy like that, so we can rest on our own product coming through. And if that means a change of personnel in coaching, you know, change of facilities, it's going to happen. And I'm comfortable with it. I'm gutted for Jace, I really am, but I'm comfortable with it if it's going to take our club to the next level.
Yeah, and to echo that, you know, like you said, Baz, a fantastic servant to the club. He'll always be warmly welcomed and received at Soul Group Craven Park. He's created some fantastic memories for supporters, and he will go down as a Robins great. And sometimes, for whatever reason, things just don't work, do they? And you know, sometimes we have to be honest, hold our hands up, and maybe it's time for somebody else to come in and try something different. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. And I suppose the biggest indication of where the academy at the moment is, sadly, is when you look at the recruitment and the age profile of some of the players we've brought in. You know, we talked about Tom Whitehead, Declan Murphy. We're looking at Jalen Hodgson. You know, you look at these players, and really they're the positions, you know, that should be filled by academy prospects that will coming through. We've seen the likes of Connor Barley, Louis Gorman, Leo Tennyson, Zach Fishwick. Just not quite there yet, and whether that's because they haven't had the opportunity. But at the same time, Bazza, your opportunity in this first team at Hull Kingston Rovers only comes by proving your worth, showing what you can do, and being able to step into that first team. And at the moment, getting into that first team must be harder than, I don't know, getting into Fort Knox, because everybody wants to be in it.
Yeah, you're right, but a lot of the oath, like you've just alluded to, with the selection of names there with Leo Tennyson and whatnot, they always go out to Tenerife over the last few years with the boys to work hard, prove, and you know, maybe they just haven't cut it. And I don't want to bag on any player, because these are still young guys and they've still got a future in rugby league. But if they just didn't quite cut it, maybe that is that down to the start of the progression in the academy. You know, was he a slow starter and, you know, a late bloomer? And maybe that's why they're not getting in the side. So if we've got something in our academy setup with the right facilities, what's going to be like a Tenerife every week, you know, for these young lads working hard, training hard, maybe things will be different in the future. You know, there'll be no late starters. They'll just fit seamlessly into the side when it's their turn to go to Tenerife with the boys, because they've already been grafting at that level for so many years under new coaches, new facilities. So maybe that's a problem, but we do need to change something soon, because it's a salary cap sport and we can't carry on paying top dollar to stay where we are. We need to start looking at our own products in the near future to ease the salary cap. And if we don't spend as much, we get to improve facilities at the stadium as well.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the salary cap and out of contract players in future Robin pods, because it is a big season for a number of players in terms of retention and whether there will be a Robin in 2027. So yeah, we'll mention that as we go along. one thing that I was going to mention is that, of course, it is cutthroat. You only have to look at how Noah Booth came into the side, took his opportunity, and you can't argue that he didn't deserve it. And so if you're behind him, you've got to be doing something bigger, better than what he is. And if you're not, there's players out there who will take their opportunity. And it, like I said, it's cutthroat. But I mean, the thing is, when we record the Robin Pod, there's loads of things we don't know. We're presuming, we're surmising, we're guessing. Sometimes we do get a bit of information about certain things. The vast majority, it's just our opinion on what things look like on the outside. Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're wrong. But I suppose that's the nature in it. That's why we do the Robin Pod. That's why I invite supporters on to just give me their opinions. I give my opinions. And most times, 99% of the time, they're sensible opinions. So, hey, let's see what happens. All we want, though, Bazza, is kids coming through that academy, going into that first team.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, there's not better than having a local lad do something amazing with a local team, Yeah. So that's all we want, It'd be great to have another Mikey Lewis is one of our own, but another prospects. So it will come. I am confident it will come. Again, it's just another exciting chapter of Kingston Rovers' future, mate. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, one player who didn't come through the Hull KR Academy, and we constantly keep getting reminded of that because he's one of many who came through the Wigan Academy, is Oliver Gildart. He's signed a 2-year deal to remain with the Robins. What's your reaction to that, Bazza?
A little surprised. I was more surprised that All Out Rugby League broke it and not the club.
Well, as we record this, Bazza, literally, I've just seen a message on my phone from the club that says they've
announced it now.
Announced a 2-year deal.
All right, fair play then. Yeah, I'm surprised because I thought it was nailed on. Jack Broadbent gets a number 4 shirt in 2026, but again, this is why I'm a fan. It shows what do we know. But Ollie Gildart, he's not had the best 2 years, as in injury, but when he has been on the field last year, it was formidable. Arguably one of the best centres in the comp before he picked up his injury, to the point where there was talk of him getting an England call-up. So great for Ollie, great for his future. Just hope he can stay fit. That is the big one, keeping him fit. 2-year deal, that's his future secured. But a lot of it is what we don't see. We don't know how Ollie conducts himself, behind closed doors. Very much like JWH and a Mickey Mack, it might be an integral part of that leadership group. So just his experience alone might be great for the boys. So a 2-year deal, I am a little surprised. I'm a disappointed. No, because he's a good lad, and when he's on and he's fit, he's fantastic. So no, I'm chuffed a bit for Ollie, and the days of Robin, so we'll back him no matter what.
Yeah, I tell you what, interesting. I'm just reading, as we're recording this, I'm just reading the announcement on the website. Willie Peters' comments about it are interesting. Willie Peters says, I think Gilly has been really strong for us for the last 2 seasons. He's had unfortunate long-term injuries in both seasons, but we know what Gilly is capable of. He showed what he's capable of in the grand final. Gilly's form was outstanding before he got injured last year. I saw a change of mindset in him last year to go after training, which transferred into some strong performances in his game. He really bought into what we're about at Hull KR. Providing Gilly stays mentally zoned, I believe his best years are still ahead of him. Interesting, that, isn't it?
Very interesting.
Normally, Peters don't give anything away in terms of anything, but that is a little bit of an insight into maybe adaptations Oliver Gildart's made to his training, his conduct, the way goes about stuff. But Willie Peters has still got an eye on it to say, look, you need to keep it in my good books almost if you want to get out there. Because like you said, Bazza, when he was on his game, which we saw countless times last season, he was one of the best. Yeah,
it was. But I think the fact he's got Jack Broadbent chomping at his heels is only going to bring the best out of Ollie as well. So, that was interesting, Willie Peters going into a lot of detail like that, because like you've just said, he never normally does. So I think it's congratulations, Ollie. You've got your new deal, but I am keeping tabs on you. You need to stay on top of your game. Otherwise, we've got a suitable replacement there in Jack Broadbent.
And I mean, and Gildart as well. He's a little bit like Joe Burgess, the players who you just think have been around forever. I mean, he's still only 29. He's got a 2-year deal, and that'll take him to 31. We've seen with Pet Hicko, for example, once you get into your mid-30s, age is no barrier. So he's still got something ahead of him. And the fact, if he can maintain, a decent injury record, and we see him out on the pitch more often than not, you'd expect him to produce the goods. So it's exciting to see what he does, and the fact that he's tied down. Like we said, we're going to talk about contracts and stuff, and who may be departing and who may be coming in. But we know that Oliver Gildart is going to be a Robin for the next 2 years. So interesting. One side note, which we've talked about International Rugby League previously, and it's the fact that Shaun Wane has departed England. Of course, we saw him lead the side to a disappointing Ashes campaign. He's been in charge actually for 5 years. This would have been going into his 6th year as England head coach. He led England to a semi-final appearance in the Home World Cup, and then we saw him defeat Tonga and Samoa in 2 series over here. The only reason I was bringing it up, Baz, and I wasn't going to mention it, but today Willie Peters has been potentially linked with the England head coach role. There's no doubt, in my opinion, something had to change. The Ashes team looked like it was playing within itself, and I thought Shaun Wane, the whole build-up, the camp, the access to the players, everything just seemed to be off. And I think actually there was lucky that there was a few players individually who took the games by the scruff of the neck and did something about it. But I think the game plan, just everything was pretty rank. So I wasn't surprised to see him go. Of course, Willie Peters was assistant coach to the Australia side. So, yeah, do you reckon he could be the England coach come the World Cup this year?
I'm going to be controversial on this. I hope not. But part of me, I'd like to see him take the role, because then it means he's going to be staying in the country longer. But my belief is any coach of England should have no affiliation with any club at club level. We've seen it with Shaun Wane with the credit in the bank. It just causes controversy. But the only problem is, who else is out there? Who else could take that England coaching job? I believe it's only on a part-time basis as well. So, it would suit a coach. I don't agree with an head coach, whether it's Willie, Darryl, Powell, Sam Burgess. I don't believe they should have a head coach's role as the national side. I think it just makes the game look a joke, personally. I'll tell you who won't want Willie Peters to get the job, and that'll be his missus. Because don't forget, prior to him being named the Australian assistant coach, I think there was scheduled to go on holiday to Bali, and they had all the plans. Obviously, that got then ripped up because he took on that role. They don't want to go another winter with him. Well, it could suit Willie's wife this year because the World Cup's in Australia, so it means she gets to go back home and see family. So, yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, the appointment of the next England coach, the circumstances are very unique, aren't they? Because there's no friendlies at the moment planned, scheduled. There's no actual time scheduled for England to play friendly in the build-up to that World Cup. There isn't even time scheduled from all training camps. So we saw the farce of last season where Shaun Wane was holding meetings, basically, where the players just got together, which was, neither here or there. So basically, you've got a group of players going into a tournament cold. So you need a coach, basically, who can motivate a team to be able to perform for a number of games, because all your pre-work's going to be so hard to do, isn't it, in terms of getting them play. Look at all the work England Rovers are doing now, pre-season. Yeah. Look at what the detail, the intensity, the attention to detail. Look at it all. Well, England aren't going to enjoy any of that. So who's going to be the England coach?
Who's going to want it? You feel like they're set up to fail before a ball's even been kicked, don't you? It's shocking by the RFL, and this is why we need changes. We need to take the international game seriously. We need international friendlies. We need training camps. We need to grow them relationships, them friendships, like you do at club level. Whoever's going to take that part-time role on, mate, for me, I think they're set up to fail. Literally, it's I'm glad Shaun Wane's gone, but you just won't want that role going into the World Cup with no prep at all.
I suppose for me that the sacking solves one problem and creates another. And we're in reality at this stage, we're in no better position. So, yeah, let's see how that goes over the next few months and what happens with that. Of course, if you're on Facebook and Instagram, you'll know that I put out a post yesterday asking for your questions, ready for question time. Of course, it's been a couple of months since the last Robin pod, so it's great to get your views and hear what you're saying and wanting to know answers to your questions. Remember, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the like button. And if you're on Spotify or any of the podcast providers, make sure you get on that subscribe button. It really does make a difference so that you know when the latest Robin pod is out. Over on Instagram, Bazza, Andy Smith 9986 says, after last season's unforgettable treble, we move on to creating a legacy. What does a legacy look like to you? Are we capable of creating one, Bazza?
I think the legacy's already been created by what the guys achieved last year. I think creating a legacy would be doing the unthinkable against Brisbane, personally. And then that means we've took all 4 within the space of 12 months. And that is unthinkable. It's what dreams are made of. And the way everybody's writing all KR off going into that Brisbane game, I find it comical because I think we've got a good old chance in that Brisbane game. So I think if we got over the line in the World Club Challenge, I think there's your legacy, and we'll see what the season brings, because it's going to be massive in 26.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Brisbane game, of course, in future Robin pods. Ethan Brady, he says a similar question: do you think we'll win the treble again? I mean, all I'll say is, I'm going to talk about this on future Robin pods, I don't think any side, Bazza, has recruited to make them better or as equal as our side is now when I look at other clubs' recruitment. And that leads me to think, I reckon we're in for a good season in 2026. I really do.
Yeah, I do. I think we're in for a good season. It's going to be a competitive season. I think our nearest competitors is going to be Lee. I think they've recruited very, very well, but to do the treble again, it'll take some doing. I personally said after last year, I can't see another club doing the treble, just because of the way the competition's going now. It's fierce. There's everybody chomping at the bit and everybody's improved. So if any club, including my own, did the treble, mate, it'd be some achievement in this day and age.
And still on Instagram, Bear Pooh Bear, he says, most people seem to be writing off our chances against the Broncos, but what do you guys think? The irony being, of course, we were talking about the Challenge Cup and writing off all there, writing off Locker Lane and Brighouse's chances. Don't get me wrong, it's the worst comparison I've probably ever made. But what I mean is, look, when them two teams step onto the pitch, both teams have got a chance. And the fact we're playing them at the stage of the season that we are gives us an even better chance, I think. So, look, I genuinely think we've got a great chance. I really do. I know you think we do, Bazza. I can't wait. I can't wait for the build-up.
If you watch any NRL, you'll see over the years Brisbane are very much a little bit like a Wigan Warriors. They're very, very slow starters. It takes them about 4 or 5 weeks to get into the groove down in the NRL. So for him to come across here, winter, I know they're prepping quite well, but it's the best time to play him, and it stands us in good stead, mate. And yeah, I think personally, there's no favourites going into that game. It's anyone's game.
Yeah, definitely. Over on Facebook, Ben Harrison, he says, with the start of the season so tightly packed with Las Vegas World Cup Challenge, Catalans and Toulouse away, and the Challenge Cup, how were the fans meant to afford it? Why didn't the RFL spread out our away trips to France? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know Christmas might have been tight for a few people in East Hull. It has been a crazy, if you look at it, 2 years, really, hasn't it? When you look at the games the Robins have played in, and of course, factor Las Vegas into that. I tell you what, mate, it is what it is, and you won't hear many people complaining. I do understand what he's saying. There's a lot in there, isn't there? And for a working class community like East Hull is, money has to get stretched further and further now, let alone because of Rovers, just because of the cost of living. Factor in the Rovers and what they're doing, but most people wouldn't swap it for anything, would they?
No, absolutely not. And I think it really epitomises the Eastall working community, mate. No matter what, you always find a way. Same with myself. We'll find a way. We'll find a way to afford it. We'll find a way to make it work. You know, the only thing I think is bob on. I think the RFL has made a massive clanger with the France away games, because arguably we're definitely in the top 3 best away support in the league, and we always travel so well across to France. So I think the RFL have got that wrong. If they'd have spread it out a little bit more, closer to summertime, you know, give fans time to reset, so they can go across to France in the decent weather, they'd get much better support. But other than that, nah, it's a roller coaster, mate, and we're all on board to ride it.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet, Bazza, but I have started pricing my kidney up to see what it's worth. To see, you know, another successful campaign, and that might be it for me.
Oh, mate, I'm on Feet Finders selling feet pictures for a father.
Yeah. So you haven't started that OnlyFans account yet?
Oh, man, I ended up in debt when I started that, didn't I?
Yeah, you're not supposed to be paying, you're supposed to be receiving.
Well, that's the thing. I was paying for my subscription, wasn't I? Just the wrong one.
Steve Bucknell says, are Rovers stronger than last season?
Ooh.
Tough one, that one, isn't it?
You want to go first on that?
Do you know what? Yes, I think they are. I think if we're really honest and we look at Laura Hargreaves' performances, for example, grand final, absolute colossus. You know, one of the many reasons why we did win that game. During the course of the season, steady. You know, didn't really pull up massive trees for us. Cost us a few penalties at times, which were needless. And then Mickey McAlorum, of course, with his injury record. We didn't see him out on the pitch that much, did we?
No.
Although the games that he did play had a big impact. So when I look at it like that, I do think with Amon coming in, Lawton coming in, you know, Whitehead coming in, you know, these players, actually, I think as a squad, I do think we're stronger.
I agree. I do feel like on the field we are stronger because, you know, we was playing a lot of games with literally 2 interchanges. I do feel like our starting 17, 21 is slightly stronger. I just feel like we could potentially be lacking in experience of leadership. So that's where we're going to see if these boys, your Sam Luckley, your Mini, have really took on board what Mickey Mack and Jared brought in, and they take it to the next level with the leadership skills, which I believe they will. I think that's my only concern right now. On the field, I don't think we're slightly stronger, and that's no disrespect to the boys. It's just the leadership side of things off the field, which I'm going to be intrigued to see.
Yeah, I'll answer this one. Michael Matthews, he says, can you see any of the younger members of the squad breaking through this season? Tom Whitehead, someone you've mentioned, Bazza, been spoke of very highly. He seems to fancy his chances. I think we will see Wakefield and the Challenge Cup game. I think that'll be a squad that features some of our reserve youth, you know, backup players heavily. I think we'll go into the York game strong. Of course, I've got Brisbane and Leeds. They will be our strongest squads. I won't be surprised then when we return, we see a bit of rotation in that squad. So I think we've got Huddersfield straight after Brisbane. I won't be surprised if then we start to see a bit of rotation in that squad. Who knows? Like Bazza said, we're not the coaches. You know, it's only our opinion. A good point from Ian Dixon. Bazza says, are we light of a running second row following Kalepi's departure?
No, because one man don't make a side. We want utilising Kalepi. Kalepi at the beginning of last year, if anyone remembers, he was only doing about 8 minutes. We weren't seeing the best of Kalepi. Kalepi needed to do big minutes to see the best of him, and he just won't get into the side. No, I don't think we are later. I think we're more mobile, and that's key. We are more mobile. We don't. If we want an impact, we've got Tom Amon, who, you know, is the right size to play second row or prop. So I don't believe we are any later. I think we're just a lot more mobile, and I think we've got a bit more skill on show.
Right, Bazza, we're gonna do these ones quick fire now. Gary Lee, who course features on the Robin Pod last season, he'll be on it again in 2026. Are we anything to fear for 2026? We've already proved many doubters wrong. Here's to another treble.
Yeah, no, not to fear.
Yeah. Santo JC says, if we don't win anything this year, will it be seen as a failure?
No. Well, I think we're at the start of the cycle again. So as long as we're competitive, we're up there about top 2, top 3 competing. I don't see it as a failure now.
Pat O'Connor, any concerns about the Vegas trip and Broncos game affecting our season?
No. I think we've got the right mentality and we're prepared for it.
And then he also says, do you think the Pack's a little bit light this season?
No. I just think it's more mobile, more agile. Not to fear.
And Julie Rodman, she asks, who do you think will be the top 3 standout players this year?
Jez, Tom Amon, and Atamog.
Oh, I was going to say him as well. I was literally, if you didn't see him, yeah, I'm really excited. Of course, came to us early, didn't he? He's got his feet well and truly under the table. We've seen what he can do. I'm really excited to see a full season of Atamog. Bazza, huge thank you for your contribution on the very first Robin Pod of 2026.
And you did it bang on in an hour, like you said.
Yeah, nearly. I just need to keep speaking, Bazza. Don't forget the Robin Pod is powered by Budget Tyres. Found them on Leeds Road. The only car specialist trusted by the players, club officials and supporters. But for now, live, love, laugh and be happy.
Whatever the game, the Red Army's passion is always the same.
45 years of hurt in the Challenge Cup. 40 years of hurt as a team. OKR have won the Challenge Cup in 2025.
Through every cheer, it led us to our golden year. We beat the Wire in Wembley rain. Tom Davies try helped ease the pain. We topped the league. We would not fall. The mighty Robins above them all. An Old Trafford clash with Wigan's might. We burned the sky with red that night. 24-6, the game was done. History made the treble won. 40 years of hopes and tears.